Sir Kay is about to enter the tournament. The sound of lances colliding echoes in the background, horses charge forward kicking up dust, and in the middle of that chaos he realizes something simple and fatal. He has no sword. Around him, the field is already in motion. Horses advancing, lances breaking, men being thrown to the ground, and he simply cannot fight. With no time to spare, he turns and orders Arthur to run and bring his sword immediately. There is no plan, no margin for error. If Arthur fails, Kay does not enter. If Kay does not enter, everything is lost. And in that moment, in the middle of the chaos, the responsibility falls on someone who was never supposed to be there. Arthur runs as he has done so many times before, not like a hero, but like a simple squire, used to carrying out small orders every day, without recognition, without glory, just repeating what needed to be done. And what no one there knew, and no one could have imagined, is that this boy, shaped by that silent routine of discipline, would become the greatest king England would ever know. But at that moment there was no destiny, only a problem. The sword was not there. He searches once, then again, turns everything upside down. Nothing. And now he has a choice. Return and admit he failed, as most would do, or keep going until he finds a solution. Arthur does not go back. He sets out again, without a plan, determined only not to fail. And then, along the way, he sees something strange. A sword stuck in a stone, untouched, as if it had been waiting for someone. Arthur approaches without hesitation, not as someone seeking glory, but as someone used to acting when something needs to be done. He does not read the inscription with ambition, does not think about destiny, does not imagine greatness. He simply sees a problem still unsolved. For years, his life had been exactly this, repeating simple tasks, obeying, correcting mistakes, trying again, without applause, without immediate reward. And it is precisely this kind of man who acts differently in that moment. While others would have stopped to doubt, to interpret, to hesitate, Arthur simply grips the sword and pulls. No excessive effort, no spectacle. The blade gives way. And what for him was just another task completed, was in truth the proof that he had been shaped silently for something others would never reach. Arthur grips the hilt and pulls, just like that, and the sword comes free from the stone, as if it had never belonged to it. Without understanding the weight of that moment, he returns and hands it to Kay, as he would with any other task completed. But something does not add up. Kay recognizes the sword. He knows what it means, and for a moment he tries to hide the truth, tries to claim for himself what he did not earn. But it does not hold. Their father demands an explanation. Arthur is brought back to the stone, and in front of everyone he repeats the act. Again, without effort. Again, without spectacle. And that is where the problem begins. No one wants to accept it. Experienced knights, men of reputation, all try to pull the sword and fail, because it is not strength, it is not status. And suddenly that unnoticed squire, the one who did the work no one valued, becomes impossible to ignore. But accepting it is another story. From that moment on, resistance does not disappear immediately. It has to be broken. Arthur is taken back to the stone not once, but many times before different men, different eyes, different levels of disbelief. And every time the result is the same. He pulls the sword with the same simplicity as always. No force, no effort, no change. Little by little, what was doubt turns into silence, and silence turns into acceptance. Not because everyone wanted it, but because it could no longer be denied. And that is how Arthur ceases to be just a squire and begins to occupy a place no one imagined was his. But what comes next is not comfort. It is responsibility. He must learn to govern, to lead men older and more experienced than himself, to make decisions that affect not only his own life, but an entire kingdom. And what began with small tasks repeated in silence now becomes something greater, the ability to sustain power without losing himself, to maintain order where there was once conflict, and to carry a weight few could even understand. If you want to turn this into something real, then start by eliminating the main weakness of the modern man: dependence on emotional state. Choose one activity that truly matters in your life. Studying, working on a project, training your body, or developing a skill that generates income. And turn it into a fixed, non-negotiable obligation. It is not something you try to do. It is something you do every day at the same time, whether you feel like it or not. And here is the key point. You do not evaluate every day whether it is working. The squire did not wake up thinking, "Is it worth cleaning this armor today?" He simply did it. Arthur did not develop his ability at the moment of the sword. He developed it through the repetition of those small, seemingly useless tasks that no one valued. So stop constantly reassessing. Define what must be done and repeat it long enough until it stops being a choice and becomes part of who you are. Now, the second point, one that almost no one accepts. You must learn not to abandon the task when it fails. Remember the most important moment in the story. Arthur went to fetch a sword, and it was not there. That is exactly where most modern people break. They try once, it does not work, and they come back with an excuse ready. It didn't work. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't for me. Arthur had the same option. He could have gone back and explained, but he does not go back. He continues. And that is what you need to build, the inability to return empty-handed. If you sat down to work, you do not get up without producing something. If you went to train, you do not leave without completing the session. If you decided to study, you do not close the material without making progress. It doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be done. Because in the real world, opportunities do not appear for those who try. They appear for those who continue until they solve the problem. If you want to keep learning from this kind of wisdom, not empty modern psychology, but principles tested by time, forged in stories like Arthur's, then this channel is for you. Here, every video is not just a story, but a model of how to live with more discipline, more clarity, and more control over your life. If you want to build something solid, stop depending on motivation and start acting like someone who is truly preparing for greater opportunities. Subscribe to the channel and follow the next videos.